we're discussing Epicurus, and these are his views on death, his philosophical tidbits on death. Growth accustomed to the belief that death is nothing to us, since every good and evil lie in sensation. However, death is the deprivation of sensation. Therefore, correct understanding that death is nothing to us makes a mortal life more enjoyable. Not by adding an endless span of time, but by taking away the longing for immortality. Sorry. Big mess up. Immortality, sorry. That means, living on forever, not dying. For there is nothing dreadful in life for the man who has truly comprehended that there is nothing terrible in not living. Therefore, foolish is the man who says that he fears death. Not because it will cause pain when it arrives, but because anticipation of it is painful. What is no trouble when it arrives is an idle worry in anticipation. Death, therefore, is most dreadful of evils, is nothing to us, since while we exist, death is not present. And whenever death is present, we do not exist. It is nothing either to the living or the dead, since it does not exist for the living, and the dead no longer are. The majority, however, sometimes flee from death as the greatest of evils, and other times choose it for themselves as a respite from the evils in life. The wise man neither rejects life nor fears not living. Life is not objectionable. No, this is very interesting. To him, nor is not living regarded as an evil. Just as he assuredly chooses not the greatest quantity of food, but most tasty. That's funny, yeah. Just as he assuredly chooses not the greatest quantity of food, but the most tasty. Yeah, if you think about it, okay. What's a good example of that? You could say beans. A bag of, no, not beans. That's too small of a measure. Okay, like he's saying that we choose tasty food more often than the amount of food we can get, because it's based off of flavor. So does he enjoy the fruits, not of the lengthiest period of time, but of the most pleasant. He who advises the youth to live well, but the old man to die well, is foolish, not only because of the desirability of life, but also because the training for living well and dying well is the same. That's interesting, huh? Much worse is he who says that it is good not to be born, and once born to pass through the gates of death as quickly as possible. If a man says this with conviction, how can he avoid departing from life? For this road is open to him if he has firmly resolved to do it. If, however, he has spoken in jest, he is considered foolish among men who cannot welcome his words. We must keep in mind that the future is neither completely ours nor not ours, so that we should not fully expect it to come, nor lose hope as if it were not coming at all. So it's like a balance of making sure you don't become too idealistic and too nihilistic and pessimistic, and kind of take the golden mean to try to balance it out, so that the future is neither completely ours nor not ours. So we don't know if the future is not for us, essentially, but we must understand that the future is not simply working just for us and within our control. I can agree with that. Now, this one is called The Various Desires, and this is his moral theory, okay? This is his theory of morality. We must consider that of the desires, some are natural and either idle. Of the natural desires, some are necessarily, while others are natural only. Okay, so dividing the senses. So there's some natural senses, desires that we have naturally and artificially. There are those that are necessary for happiness, those that are necessary for the body's freedom from disturbance, and those that are necessary for life itself. A firm understanding of these things enables us to refer every choice and avoidance to the health of the body or the calm of the soul. Since this is the goal of a happy life, everything we do is for the sake of this, namely, to avoid pain and fear. Once this is achieved, all the soul's trouble is dispelled, as the living being does not have to go in search of something missing, or to seek something else, by which the good of the soul and of the body will be fulfilled. For we have need of pleasure at that time when we feel pain owing to the absence of pleasure. Okay. Interesting. So they're kind of like two emotions that play off each other. When we do not feel pain, it is because we no longer have need of pleasure. Therefore, we declare that pleasure is the beginning and the goal of a happy life. For we recognize pleasure as being the first good as inborn. It is from this that we begin every choice and every avoidance. It is to pleasure that we have recourse, using the feeling as our standard for judging every good. Okay, clarification. So remember, this was written in Greek and it was translated to English. You don't have to just like when they don't mean pleasure as in the pop culture sense of lustiness. But this is the simple opposite of the negative, the positive. So instead of saying pleasure, you can say positiveness, right? Of like a happiness, like a dopamine, okay? Not like sinful, lusty stuff. That's not what he's saying here. So a pleasure could be and then it goes on for pleasure and pain, right? But you could say the absence of pain, or like it's not the simply darker interpretation of the word pleasure. He's not talking about just indulging like a Satanist would say they indulge in the pleasure anyone in which their soul presents. Okay? But Epicurus is not saying that. He's saying pleasure as in the good, as in the philosophical good. He's not saying as in like the bad way. Okay? Alright, now he's going to continue. Pleasure and pain. Since pleasure is the first good and natural to us, it is for this reason also that we do not choose every pleasure. Instead, there are times when we pass over many pleasures whenever greater difficulty follows from them. Also, we regard many pains as better than pleasures. Oh, interesting, as better than pleasures. Since a greater pleasure will attend us after we have endured pain for a long time. That's true. That is very true. A good example of that would be when I'm doing squats and I work out hard, and then that pain I get the next day, it's painful, but it's a wonderful pain. And then like you're sore, you're walking, it feels great, and then like when that pain passes, my muscles, regain, and I got gains, right? So that is very true. Like there's some pains that like have a sort of like a benefit to them. Some people could say running's for them, right? Maybe a bull rider could say that too, like because his body all on the side here, his entire body, not just his arm, but is sore, so but he survived the riding. I mean, there's so many different ways you can interpret this. Every pleasure, therefore, because of its natural relationship to us, is good. But not every pleasure is to be chosen. That's sticky territory right there. No, I would say that it may be... I don't say that just because pleasure is part of humanity, that it therefore universally in every measurement will benefit, i.e. and be included in the goodness to the soul. You could get... No, because remember, he's in a time when there's no cell phones, cars. This is an ancient Greek man. So maybe back in his day that could have been applied when you did not have the weaponry, when you did not have the access and promotion of the dark arts, right? He's living in a much different time, a more simplistic, very close to nature. No microwaves, no lamps, like this oils and candles. It's a very different time period. Today, however, if every person is seeking a pleasure, it could be very terrible. Futuristically, through AI, someone interacting with AI, right? Merging their bodies with AI in like a bionic future, they will be able to hit those access parts of the brain of stimulation for happiness, for mocked happiness, and many people have predicted that that will lead to humans simply not moving anymore and absorbing into an AI, and that's bad for us, but it's okay if you have a fun once in a while, right? So that would be shown as not good. And then it indeed not every pleasure is to be chosen, but just because you don't choose it, that doesn't make it mean like, because what he's saying here is essentially like every single pleasure is good. The only difference is you just can't pick some over the others. But that would be that wouldn't make sense, because if you can't pick it and it should not be chosen, it's therefore not good. Because if it's not good, you don't choose it. Therefore, it doesn't make sense. I think he didn't see that little logical twist there, because if you're saying simply all these choices are good, oh, but just don't pick that one. Why can't I pick it? It's not good. But I thought you said all of them were good. Come on, Epicurus. Okay. Likewise, every pain is an evil. But not every pain is of a nature always to be avoided. But evil must be avoided. You can't blend that, Epicurus. You can't be like, okay, all pains are evil, but that one benefited you. Therefore, it would be classified as good because it was a benefit. Evil has no benefit. That's why you avoid evil, because there's no benefit, and you do the good because it gives you a benefit. Evil cannot be a benefit. It can have the illusion of it, but it comes back round. It stings like the scorpion. I mean, no, you don't. That wouldn't make sense. Yet it is proper to judge all these things by a comparison and consideration of both their advantages and disadvantages. Yeah, obviously, but an evil will... Okay, wait a minute. If you look at advantages and disadvantages, you have evil has disadvantages and temporary advantages for some. However, wait, you can flip that conversely though too. You can say that being good can have an advantage, and being good can have a disadvantage. So it doesn't matter how you flip it. There's going to be advantages and disadvantages to both good and evil, to pleasure and pain. But just because pleasure and pain have advantages and disadvantages, that doesn't mean that inherently, universally, all the good is good and all the evil and all the pain is evil. That wouldn't make sense. You can't, no, that wouldn't work. What do you think, family? For on certain occasions, we treat the good as bad, and conversely, the bad as good. Yeah, but that's the illusion. That would be the illusion. Just because we treat it that way, that doesn't therefore prove his original premise that all pleasure is therefore natural in a relationship to us and therefore good. Okay? Just because it has the illusion of it doesn't make it actual factual. So disagree. What do you think, family?